Well, I want to give you an update today just about what's happening in Israel. Tomorrow on the Tipping Point show, I am interviewing former Minnesota Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann, and she is a champion of Israel. We'll be talking about Israel and what's going on over there right now. We're also going to be talking about the World Health Organization and about a major issue with the World Health Organization that every single person needs to know about, because it's going to affect the entire globe if it happens the way that they're trying to make it happen. Let me just kind of give you a little bit of an update about what's happening in Israel. You know that last Friday was the day of rage. The Hamas called for a day of rage, and it's disappointing to see how many celebrations there were, especially in America. College campuses all over America, streets, New York City, different places across America. There were pro-Palestinian, demonstrations. The United Nations will not label Hamas is a terrorist organization. That just shows you how much they hate Israel. They have censured Israel more than all of the countries combined. And so you just have this anti-Semitic sentiment more than's ever occurred since the Holocaust. In fact, during the beginning of the war last week, more Jews have died than the Holocaust. So this is historic, to say the least. The United States government has come out in support of Israel, which is good, and we've sent the carrier group, the USS Gerald Ford over there, that strike force, along with the carrier. We have another carrier on its way over there right now. That's all really good. President Biden made a really good speech last week, stating how strongly we stand in support of Israel, both politically and militarily. And that's all good, but he's also now calling for the creation of a Palestinian state. And this is where Hamas has won. Hamas has won because Saudi Arabia is now building their ties with Iran rather than with Israel. They put on hold all of their, normalization of relations with Israel. They've won in the sense that they have changed the conversation from just a conversation of Palestinian versus Israel or Hamas versus Israel into a conversation where now we're talking about the creation of a Palestinian state. Let me say what that means. And first of all, it means that Israel has to give up East Jerusalem. Now, you look what's happening right now in the West Bank. And remember, they gave the West Bank in 2005 to the Palestinians in a land for peace deal. They were told, if you give us this land, we'll give you peace. That never happened. Hamas has been in control of the Gaza Strip ever since. In their charter, they call for the annihilation of the Jews. Now, how on earth can you be neighbors with someone like that? How on earth could you trust someone like that who doesn't even recognize your right to exist and who wants to annihilate you? So now they want to give the Palestinians East Jerusalem. The Gaza Strip now becomes a nation, a part of a separate nation, Palestine, and the West Bank. Now, when they give up East Jerusalem, 200,000 Jews will lose their homes. Now, where are they going to move? When they give up the West Bank, 400,000 Jews lose their homes. Either that or they live under the government of the Palestinians, however that works. And they have to give the Golan Heights then to Syria. That would obviously be part of the deal. And so the pressure that's being put on Israel right now from the government of the United States, and this has been President Biden's policy since he took office. He wants a two-state solution. He wants the creation of a Palestinian state. And I just want to remind you now, because I've said this to you before, that God is furious. In Joel chapter 3, God says he's going to come into judgment with the nations of the earth. At the same time he brings back the captives of Judah and Jerusalem, that was 1948. In that same period of time, he's bringing all the nations of the earth down to the valley of Jehoshaphat. That's the valley between the Temple Mount and the Mount of Olives. And he's going to enter into judgment with them there on account of his people, his heritage Israel, whom you've scattered among the nations, and you've divided up my land. So the United States, Bill Koenig, who's been on the show many times, wrote the book Eye to Eye, where he documents, there's 126 different instances where the government of the United States has tried to force Israel to give up land and historic natural disasters that have happened as a result. And so when President Biden is talking about forcing Israel, see, this is Armageddon. Armageddon occurs because the nations of the world, this is Zechariah chapter 12, the nations of the world come against Israel because they will not give up land and they won't give up East Jerusalem. So all the nations of the world are gathered against it. Zechariah 12 goes into detail about that. And so what we're seeing right now is worldwide anti-Semitism. and a call for the creation of a Palestinian state. Now, President Netanyahu, or Prime Minister Netanyahu, is a brilliant man. I'm so glad that he is in office while all of this is going on, because he's a very strong man. He has stated repeatedly that Jerusalem is the eternal, indivisible capital of Israel. They're not going to give up Jerusalem, and they're going to be pressured to do so. And at this point, the United States is part of the pressure. I'm so glad that we're standing with Israel militarily. I'm glad for the statement of support that President Biden made. This is a disaster in process right now, is we're seeing the United States trying to bring into this conversation. In fact, President Biden's comment was, yes, they need to deal with Hamas, but there also needs to be the creation of a Palestinian state. This is where Hamas has won. They have now created this conversation where the poor Palestinians, they're being oppressed. The occupier Israel, they're on their land, and so on and so forth. And Dr. Mark Hitchcock did a brilliant job last week of just talking about the history of the nation of Israel, and where all this land and where all the argument came from. And when you go back to the Six-Day War of 1967, before Israel regained, the Sinai and East Jerusalem and the West Bank and Gaza and all those places, they were being constantly attacked. In other words, when they had already given up that land, they were being constantly attacked by the Palestinians and the Arabs. So you can't say that there's a history that if they give up this land, there's going to be peace. If they give up this land, there's still going to be war, because they will not recognize Israel's right to exist. This is the issue. And so this, endtimes.com, the Tipping Point Show, everything we do is to help you have an understanding of world events based on prophecy. Iran is making all kinds of rhetorical statements against Israel, trying to provoke them. They're also saying right now that they're going to make a preemptive strike through their proxies to Israel, that Israel better be ready for a strike, from Lebanon, from Syria, from the West Bank, from wherever it might come. And so you've heard me say before, and I'll say it again, the day that Israel strikes Iran is coming. I don't know exactly when it's going to be, but they cannot wait indefinitely, because Iran is enriching uranium. Iran is the aggravant of this entire situation. And so at some point in time, they're going to strike Iran. And when that happens, all heaven will break loose. And that's what the Bible says. That's Jeremiah 49 prophecy, Psalm 83, Ezekiel 38, 39, talking about coming wars and coming situations. It's a powder keg right now. And so I have this interview coming up tomorrow with Michelle Bachman. She is very, very knowledgeable concerning Israel. We're going to talk about the World Health Organization, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of update today. And be praying for Israel. Pray for their protection. Pray for Benjamin Netanyahu. Pray for the Knesset, especially the IDF, Israeli Defense Forces. Be praying for them. And the Jewish people everywhere, they're under pressure. Every nation in the world where the Jews are, they're under pressure, and they're being persecuted. So let's continue to pray for Israel, pray for the Jews, and I'll see you again tomorrow.